Well, Justin Trudeau's a big fat bitch. He's the biggest bitch in the whole wide world. He's a big old bitch and he has stupid hair. He's a big bitch to all the Canadian boys and girls.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the coffee stream,
I'm
Canadian Wednesday edition.
alive for once.
And I'm sorry we're late. This weather is fucking giving me a headache.
Apparently, you got snow.
Yeah,
That's so weird. We don't have any snow.
I
At
was
least not that I've seen.
I was taking the little one to school today,
Triple check because I'm worried.
and there was snow coming down. I had to put him in snow gear today because it was cold.
He probably is not going to like that very much when he gets picked up from school.
It's only supposed to be about 6 degrees today, the high.
Oh, okay.
Which sucks. And tomorrow, thankfully, I think this is the last of it. But still, it's, as the title of the stream says, it's almost May. What is this crap?
Yeah.
Seriously, I know we live in Canada, but come on. Just enough already.
I mean, I'd be completely on board with you, but I mean, I'm more always, I hate it when it's like, it gets up to 18 and then the next day it's like 60 and then the day after it's like -2.
Yeah.
Then 0. Then it's back up to like 20 degrees and it's like, stop that.
Yeah.
Stop that. You're drunk, Mother Nature. Go home.
It is very hard. On Sunday, I think it was, me and both boys were at the park in literally no coats, no, just t-shirts and running around.
Yeah. I was outside in shorts and a t-shirt this weekend.
It was 24 degrees outside.
Yeah, I was just chilling, reading my book.
Yep.
It was great. Getting some fresh air, and then boom, almost freezing again.
Yeah, it's like, what? Why?
No. I'm gonna put this shit to a stop right now, Costin. You do not get to blame me as long as Justin Trudeau is alive. Okay?
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah. Let's establish that right here, right now, because oh boy,
he is making the non-answer an art form.
He really is. And it's scary.
It is. If we ever extract our collective head from our ass, and in 100 years our children are studying this time period in history, there are going to be pieces, or in fact maybe units, in Canadian history on Trudeau and his mishandling and of the entire time he was in office.
Yeah. And I mean, that's just the stuff that we know of on the surface. There's obviously the stuff that we think we know that is just below the surface that people have been asking questions. But what's even below that? Stuff that people haven't even questioned yet, that we would find out, and that in that time period where they're reflecting back on this point in Canadian history, people would be like, how were people so stupid? How did this even happen? I think your camera froze. Did you freeze? Uh-oh. Well, looks like old Functional's taking over the show again.
That we know about him right now is what we know about him right now. What are we going to find out when he finally is voted out?
Yeah. You cut out for 30 seconds there.
Sorry about that.
I got the gist of what you were saying, because it came back to you, but you were frozen for 30 seconds, and then you came back to it.
I was just saying, what's going to happen when we finally vote him out of office, and if what we know about him on the surface right now is what we know. when we finally vote him out and the next party goes in to clean up,
Yeah.
what are they going to find?
I think it depends on who. And if it's our darling Mr. Polyev, oh boy, that guy might be seeing the inside of a cell. I'm not even kidding. I don't think Polyev is the type of person to let something like that go. I mean, again, we're not talking about just some random malfeasance or, missteps like you might have had with a Trump presidency or something like that. This is willful. This is demonstrably provable that he was maliciously acting against Canadians and their interests.
Yeah. And
Again, you constantly say, like, we look at Harper and we're like, you know what, maybe he wasn't so bad after all. And even then, he did make some missteps. He did quite a few things I didn't agree with.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, he wasn't like this. I don't think anybody's been like this since, we've seen South American dictators acting.
Right? Like this.
I mean, he's just taking after dad, right?
This is gross. Like, this is really, really gross.
Yeah, it really is.
What's going on? And it's, and we've got, like you were saying, how you've been watching him on YouTube, like he's been making the rounds. And
yeah, Polyev has,
Polyev's been because and I actually finally found the date for the leadership election for the Conservatives.
Yeah.
Saturday, September 10th.
Yeah.
Is when they are voting for their leader.
Yeah.
So,
end of summer. Yeah.
Yeah. So they're basically everybody who has their hat thrown in is doing their rounds through the conservative areas, basically, of the country. And for the most part, not even people, like citizens, that vote in this. It's just the members of the party.
Yeah, for the leadership bid.
Yeah.
And what's amazing about Polyev that we didn't see, because there was a lot to be seen and a lot of good stuff coming out of the Bernier camp. But again, he cut off his nose to spite his face in doing away with the Conservative Party. It's actually, quick side note, it's actually funny watching some of these old commentaries in the House of Commons with Polyev, because there's Maxime sitting right next to him, just clapping and nodding and saying, that's right. So even he is supportive of Polyev. But Polyev will go to someplace like Vancouver, British Columbia, a liberal bastion, and I've started using this term because it's more apt than calling them leftists. They are political reactionaries. And these political reactionaries, your Twitterati, your Democrats, your Liberal Party, your NDP activists, I think that they're scared, because when a turnout like that in such a bastion of progressivism, again, for our American audience, Vancouver, BC is basically California.
Yeah.
I don't even call it California light anymore, because it's getting just as bad. I'm sorry, Sora, but I mean, that entire area of Canada has become so disillusioned with what's going on. And for Polyev to come into a place like that and still fill a gymnasium is a good sign. Because not even Maxime was that popular.
Well, it's the way it's because there are things that Polyev does, like and like, because if he wins and he makes missteps, I am gonna call him out on them
for sure, like we would anybody.
But yeah, but I do think that he has a way with people that Maxime Bernier doesn't have.
Mm-hmm.
And it may be that Maxime maybe has a better delivery in French.
Oh, yeah. He definitely captured a little bit more of that sparkle from Quebec, but the rest of Canada, it was too spread out. He couldn't get a seat.
Yeah. if it's, I think it might have been a partially a language barrier.
Yeah,
Be-
there were many factors, but the language was definitely a
yeah,
big one. Yeah,
because French, like, even when a French speaking person speaks in English, their tones are different. Like, they still have the same tone that they would have that if they spoke French.
yeah,
And tone in language is also a thing, right? Like, you can say something with a specific tone of voice and mean something. Um and say and it can mean something completely different if
oh for
you
sure.
speak in a different language.
Yeah, for sure.
So
And
that could also be like his delivery in English could put people off.
another, a big contributing factor to that is not Quebecois French is very different from
Mhm,
anything else seen out throughout the world. Yes, it has roots in Parisian French, and it diverted from there, just like Louisiana French,
mhm.
Creole, these other French-based languages. Um, but again, Quebecois French is very different, and to a country that allows so many immigrants, foreign workers, our friends from America are still more than welcome to come up into Canada for the
Yeah.
most part, who come here to see people, to see country, to vacation, all these different reasons. They might look at that and be like, "Ooh, it's not very welcoming or inviting tone when they speak in English."
Yeah.
So you're entirely right about that. I can definitely see
But Polyev has
that.
mastered because he was born in a French speaking town,
hmm
but I think he had more exposure because
Yeah.
he's in Western Canada. Like that town was in Western Canada, so I think he had more exposure to English.
Yes, he did.
So he has an easier time with bilingualism,
And
and
actually sounding like a
yeah,
anglophone. Yeah.
he's able to be personable in both languages, and his other thing is that he doesn't have super duper crazy right wing extreme policies. He's got like common sense.
He's a traditional English liberal for most
Yeah,
intents and purposes.
yeah,
Again, aligns very closely to where I am, and with today's Overton window, yeah, we tend to align more on the conservative quote air quotes here parties of things. Uh, Even though he's not really, he does like being responsible. Let's use
yeah,
that word with money,
yes,
especially with collectively taxpayer dollars, our money. He looks at programs and questions them. He doesn't say outright, "No, we should defund this." Well, he does today, but before, when he first started talking about something like the CBC, he wasn't like, "Well, we need to defund them right this second." No,
yeah,
he was like, "I want to know where all this money's going." Because you're getting millions of dollars each year. We want to know, the people want to know where you are using this money.
yes.
He kept getting railroaded and no answers. They must be taking their ticks from Trudeau because he got not even anything resembling an answer over years, over the last 2 years, 3 years. And then finally he said, "You know what? Fine. If that's how you're going to play the game, then this is my statement. When I become prime minister, the CBC is no longer going to be publicly funded.
Yep.
Defunding entirely." And that's the kind of no nonsense leadership you need to run a first world country,
Hmm.
especially in the times we live in.
Yeah. Is
I
it?
even saw on social media somebody called him, use some of those buzzwords like, what was it, a right wing white supremacist or something. I said, yeah, the white supremacist with his Latin girlfriend and half Latin kids, and the fact that he speaks like 4 languages and has done more for Black communities and Indigenous communities by asking the tough questions in Canada than anybody in the House of Commons right now. Yeah,
Right?
okay. Bravo, little manlet.
Like he is, I would say, one of the biggest people that are like, let's, in regards to the indigenous people, let's give them agency.
Yeah.
Let's give them, good education, employment opportunities.
Bring them into the fold of Canada, but have maintained their communities.
Yeah.
You are now Canadian citizens. You are now beholden to Canadian laws. However, you are able to self-govern, self-regulate, and utilize the territories that your people own however you wish.
Yeah.
And allow them to sink or swim, each individual community, as they so choose. If they choose to continue on the way that some of them have and just been like hands out, asking for money all the time and misusing that money, well, that community is going to oust that leader.
Yep.
And say, well, you're destroying our community, no more. And then maybe we'll have somebody with a little bit of brains behind there and says, yes, we'll take your money. We'll tell you, we'll show you receipts. And you know what? We are going to start developing XYZ. And, maybe in 20 years, we'll start actually contributing to the country as a whole. And to me, to hear somebody just so simply put it that, we just want you to live. We just want you to be you, is just so refreshing from a politician. No rhetoric, no roundabout ifs, ands, buts, ums, ahs.
Yeah.
Just straight up. This is how I think we should do it. And you know what? Okay. And I'll say, at the end of the day, if Polyev's plan for, say, the indigenous communities sinks, then you know what? I'll be like, okay, he was wrong. I was wrong. But you know what? We tried something.
Yeah.
We didn't just argue back and forth about and do nothing for decades.
Exactly. And then we've got freaking crazy ass Jean Charest running for the Conservative. I can't believe
Did he really
put his hat in there.
Oh man, I must have missed that one. He's just been off everybody's radar, even within conservative circles. Like, there was somebody,
Quebec guy. Nobody figured, like,
I think there was some buzz about Kenney, Jason Kenney from Alberta, but I mean, all of the I just saw, it was like a tenth of a second, a freeze frame of I don't remember if it was an interview outside of the House or somebody was saying something in the House, but you just see some of the conservative members doing that side eye, like that worried, no, because they know that he's kind of fucking around in Alberta. He's more of the rhetorical conservative. This is my team. This is the sport I play.
wow.
I play team sports for this team. No ifs, ands, or buts. And the rest doesn't matter. And it's like, we have politicians like that. We don't need more. I think Polyev is on his way to just be a fucking freight train for the Conservative Party.
I've seen people talk about, Kevin O'Leary again, and I'm like, no, we don't need a freaking celebrity
Loudmouth.
That guy has the old conservative value.
Yeah.
From like 40 or 50 years ago.
And our generation, younger generations than us, our kids' generations, they don't want that kind of conservatism.
No.
For the most part. Again, things when we say conservatism, we mean, very conservative in policy, in society, not just financially. I think most people would look at, even normies would look at, conservative types of economics and be like, yeah, that's a good idea. Why would we spend more than we could afford? I mean, it's common sense, right? It's only good management.
Yeah. But Element says, can we elect a Cocker Spaniel? I'd totally vote for a Cocker Spaniel. And Costin says, I would too, even if it was on meth.
Oh man. Oh. I know we immediately dove into it. It's been a couple weeks since I've been on the show, but hi chat. I missed you guys. I missed BP talking about Canada stuff. You know what though? I will level with you. I kind of didn't really really miss the Star Trek stream. Only because I got through episode 5 and I'm just like, I can't watch any more of this shit.
Oh,
and it just so happens my health issues have been conflicting with it, but I the first moment I got you back on stream, I wanted to be like, dude, I don't know if I can watch any more of Picard.
I know. Dude, 5 and 6 were bad. Okay. 7 and 8 are, I keep saying it's like there's 2 teams of writers. And like the good team got to write the first 3 episodes. The bad team are writing the 4, 5, and 6, and the good team seemed to have taken over 7 and 8 again.
Okay.
Really,
I'm gonna hold you to that. I'm gonna watch them now.
I'm really hoping the good
Chat
team.
your witness.
I'm really hoping the good team gets to finish the season, because holy shit, 7 and 8 were like.
Well, I mean, that's what they do with these shows these days. Is like they get a different writer for like every fucking episode, and it's like, you know what? That only works when you have somebody at the helm that knows what they're doing. Like, take a show like Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
It had different writers for almost every episode.
Yeah, it did.
And, you know, they'd cycle through and whatever, but there was always one main writer for an episode. But they weren't in charge of the overall arcing theme. You had the one guy who was like the good, well, we need, these next 3 episodes, there's going to be a lot of action-driven stuff. There's going to be a lot of shooting, a lot of space battles. So we're going to bring writer A in because that's his bread and butter, man. He's never done us wrong. And then, you know what? We've got family issues for the next episode, so we're going to bring in writer B.
Yeah.
They write the best family episodes, the best, you know, interaction episodes. And I mean, when you do that, like I said, you need to have somebody holding the reins. But when you have someone holding the reins, like Akiva Goldsmith, or what's the other douchebag for Star Trek these days? Sorry?
Kurtzman
or Goldsmith holding the reins. You might as well elect a Cocker Spaniel for Prime Minister or President, right? Like, I mean, it's the same kind of shit.
Yeah.
You just they're self-destructive, just incapable.
7 and 8 are done. It's like they were like, okay, yeah, we're sorry about 4, 5, and 6.
Let's get back to what we were trying to tell with 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, let's get back to the actual story now.
Because those last 3 episodes, 4, 5, 6, 3, 4, 5, 6, no, 4, 5, 6, yes.
Yeah.
It's that Earth stuff.
Yeah.
And like I said on the Star Trek stream many weeks ago, I tend to skip the Voyager episode where they go back to Earth.
Yeah.
The DS9 episode where they go back to the Bells riots.
Yeah.
Not because they were bad, but it's just kind of like, I've seen it already. I don't need to see it again. Where I will rewatch an episode, like right before we came online now, I was rewatching Paradise from DS9, where they get trapped on the planet by the evil Alexis woman.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's I'm going through the themes in my head, and I'm thinking, all of this was just as applicable the day it aired in 1997 as it did today in 2022. Still well acted, well written, well shot, and the topics, the issues that they're dealing with are just as relevant. If I were to go back to Picard in 10, 20 years, do you think that ice is going to be that relevant?
No.
Chances are no. So, sorry to go off on the Star Trek divergence, guys, but you know, we're Canadians, eh? And we like the Star Trek and our Timmy Hose.
Have you been noticing all of the insanely transparent ploys that the provincial parties are using to appeal to the various demographics who may vote for them?
Yeah, in specific, Robin Martin, who's my local rep, and Doug Ford, which, oh man, that was a mistake. But again, I'd rather would have had him for as long as we've had him than Kathleen Wynne, who again, people, you didn't hear about this in the news, but Kathleen Wynne basically instituted the CRT grooming bullshit that's being
Mhm.
fought in the United States, she instituted that with nary a whisper. But the backlash of her getting ousted just like that at the next election, whoo boy, she got whiplash. Good.
Well, because parents were
Scummy person.
taking a look at homework and being like,
What the hell is
what,
this?
what is this crap, right? Like,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
even like fairly open-minded parents were taking a look and going, yeah, no.
Yeah, my sister who is very progressive, let's say. She's a teacher.
Yeah.
Let's not hold that against her. But I said but she's not directly teaching a class at this time. She became more supports. I think she's a vice principal now, maybe.
Okay.
Anyway, regardless, she wasn't teaching classes at the time. But I said to her, "This is under the Win regime." I said, "Just take a look at my niece's homework.
Mm.
Let me know what you think. Ask Dan, my brother-in-law. Ask him to take a look at some of their homework and just read through some of the problems and let me know if you see anything." And she came back to me. She said, "Wow, I had no idea." I'm like, how could you not? Because the stuff that the kids would come to them with problems would be the very technical math, science type stuff. Whereas like, I don't understand fractions or this or that. It wasn't the word problems, the social studies, the English assignments, or the CRT style math problems that were the problem. And it's very insidious because that's how they craft some of these word problems for mathematics. It's not train A leaves Chicago doing 60 miles per hour. It's not one of those. It's Johnny, who happens to be white, got convicted for 3 grams of marijuana, and the usual sentence is 5 years. Now Andre, who's black, got caught with half that amount, but served twice as many years. How many years? And it's just like, it's pretty easy to get but the message was delivered. And that circumvents the parents because the kid gets the answer, gets it right, gets praised in school for getting the answer right, never has to check with their parents. But the hard problems, then they go to their parents and like, okay, yeah, this seems okay. And so when they hear the rhetoric online about how, well, this, I hate calling it CRT because it's not really that, but this CRT style stuff made its way in. That's why they didn't really think of it. And until like me with my sister shove it in their face and go, not saying this is awful, you should, but saying, what do you think about this?
Well, when my kids, when my oldest had to do online school the first time.
That was another one too, yeah.
And it was freaking Black History Month.
Wait. They were doing Black History Month in a Canadian school?
Uh-huh.
They've
been doing that since my little sister was in school.
Wow.
And she's 12 years younger than I am.
I mean, we mentioned it in geopolitics in high school because obviously we're talking about American politics, British politics, et cetera, et cetera. That's a political issue down in the United States. But for us or the UK to be like, yeah, Black History Month, that's a thing. It's like, wait, what? Next thing you're going to tell me Juneteenth is actually real. Sorry to cut you off from your story, but...
So then they were talking about Martin Luther King Jr.
Right.
And the civil rights movement and how he was a wonderful man who taught or who spoke about how we shouldn't judge people by what they look like, but their content of their character. And there was a lot of things. There was a lot of bad people back then, and they thought that white people were better than black people, but there wasn't that much violence. Martin Luther King
really
about violence, and he wasn't, but they were framing it as though the civil rights movement itself was a non-violent movement. And I'm like, okay, yeah, Martin Luther King may have been non-violent, but you can't, like, there's a way to tell young children about bad things without, like, lying to them. Right? Because they were trying to say two things at once, right? They were trying to say Martin Luther King Jr. was not a violent man, and they were also trying to not scare the kids when talking about the civil rights movement, but they ended up making it sound like the civil rights movement was just a bunch of kumbaya marches.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, no, no, that's not how that went. What are you
Yeah,
talking
if you
about?
teach history, you have to teach history, the good and the bad.
Yeah.
I think, growing up in a Jewish community, I think that that helped me at a very young age because they are very adamant about talking about the good and the bad. I use the term good very loosely around the time of the Second World War and the uprising of the Nazis and the Holocaust. And obviously, most of that was bad. But when I say good, I mean the pushback from the rest of the Western world, except the United States, and and how much just rank and file Canadian citizens, British citizens, they were a lot closer to it. But people like us who we could have sat here just like the Americans did and been like, you know what, that's your problem.
Yep.
But we didn't. From day one, we said, "What do you need? Grain? Got it. What else do you need? Bodies? Okay. You need financial support. What can we do to help? We recognize the threat, and we helped. And in seeing that there was not only just murder, 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 but a silver lining to the Holocaust, that eventually we, as in Western free-thinking peoples of the world, won against that form of tyranny and bigotry. That was a silver lining. That was some. And so when you get taught that kind of stuff, when you get taught something like the happy-go-feel-lucky
Mhm.
civil rights movement, you're like, no, that's bullshit. Give me the real story. And then being me who I am, I investigated the real story and investigated some of the riots, the
Yeah.
rape gangs,
Yeah.
the Black Panthers, the Black supremacists. And one thing that King did really well is he brought the Black supremacists together with, just regular black folk and saying, you know what? Yes, it doesn't matter what color your skin is. You can segregate into your own community if you want,
Yeah.
but you don't get to treat people badly just because they're a different race. And I was like, you know what? Okay, I can get behind that. White supremacists, yellow supremacists, red supremacists, black supremacists. I don't care. You want to live your life that way? You can have your own community somewhere tucked away in the corner, do your
Yeah.
thing. But when you're in civil society, you don't come at me and say, "Oh, well, you're a Jew, you're black, you're Asian," and based on that XYZ. No, that's not how Western society works. If
No.
you can't, we gave you a chance to work under those auspices. If you can't, there's the door. Get out.
Well, and I've noticed I've been re-listening, like when I take a break from listening to the Johnny Depp stuff or whatever, and I kind of just go into my shadow listening escapism. There's a lot of commercials on after the war about how it's important to be informed about who you vote for.
Mm-hmm.
It's important to vote. It's important to that freedom just isn't given to you. Like you have to um vote, like do your civic duty to ensure that freedom is maintained, because if you don't, then the wrong people may get elected and they may work to take your freedoms away from you and
Mm-hmm.
take the very elections that you take for granted away from you, like all of
It's a
these
potent
things.
message. Yeah.
And I'm like, what happened to all of that? Like, what happened to those public service announcements where it's not just,
Excuse
because
me.
now it's just, oh, you need to vote because voting's important.
But make sure you vote for me, because if you vote for anybody else, your vote doesn't matter. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
it's the same for me right now. The way they say you need to vote is the same way that I got told smoking was bad.
it just
Like,
is.
it
Why?
just
It
is.
just is.
Well, why? Just shut up. It is.
Yeah. I know it's cliche at this point, but soft times create soft men,
Yeah.
and we had such good times after the after post war
Hmm.
Canada, World War II. We're talking. Um, we've had a good fucking time in Canada for the last 50, 60, 70 years.
Absolutely.
It's been really good. We've we've had our ups and downs, but overall, we've come out okay. And that has created, I mean, even myself, at times I rest on my laurels, I sit back and I go, life's easy, life's good.
Yeah.
But you know what? That it's that moment that general rank and file Bill or Susie lunch pail says, life is easy, life's good, blah blah blah. It's that at that point that, people stop voting, they stop caring about politics, and it doesn't even have to be world events, but your own backyard events that happen, crime fluctuations, these kinds of things. People just seem to become more and more apathetic and more withdrawn into their own lives. And the fight for freedom
Hmm.
is never ending, people.
No.
That is there's all these jokes and memes of, this is how democracy dies, thunderous applause. No, it dies without a whimper, without anybody even noticing that it ever existed to
Yeah.
begin with.
It dies like that candle that's run out of wax and wick. It just kind of.
Yeah, just poof, done. And the next thing you know, you have an autocrat like Justin Trudeau in office who acts with impunity, without being beholden to the same laws and rules that everybody else in civilized society here in Canada has to live by. And that's just I mean, it's literal and figurative criminality and treason.
Yeah.
Yeah, apathy. Thank you, Elwin. That's the word I was looking for. Yeah, well, that's the thing, Straight Sith Mail. Like, I mean, we talk about Davos Group, we talk about Klaus Schwab, the World Economic Forum, and I mean, people try to paste certain people, like Pierre Polyev, as one of these members of the World Economic Forum. He's
Mm.
not. Or Elon Musk as part of that group, where it's like, or was he just going there to talk about climate change, which is something that he believes in? And it's not so much that Elon believes really in climate change. He wants to solve the problem of human pollution, which is still
Yeah.
a problem. We
Oh,
still pollute far too much on this planet.
yeah, for sure.
And it's something, but when somebody says, oh, but climate change, I just laugh at them, because I'm like, climate change is not, it's not what you think it is. Climate change is that you don't understand the basic workings of our planet, on how ice ages expand and retract, and how the polar ice caps melt and then refreeze. And we go through periods of seasonal shift. By the time your kids have their own kids and are our age, or twice our age, in the twilight of their years, they will see snow in August.
Yep.
Because that's just, seasons shift. You look at farmers' almanacs from many, many hundreds of years ago, you'll see that the planting seasons shifted, and they shift and they shift. It's not dramatic. You don't see it happen overnight. But
No.
you look at the numbers over the course of, say, 100-year slice of time, you'll see it shifts by so much as, a few weeks. It's not that big of a deal. But to immediately attribute that to this big existential crisis, and that's the buzzword they use, existential crisis, because they can't point to data, direct numbers, facts, and say this, this, this. No, they say, oh yeah, well, there's so much carbon in the air, blah blah blah. Well, okay, and what effect does that have? Oh, well, we don't know, but we know it's not good. No, not good enough. Not
No.
good enough, especially not in today's age of the technology era, where we can learn anything and everything we want like that.
Well, I read a study on the stream a couple weeks back, in the science portion of near the end of the show, and there had been a study conducted where scientists had kind of figured out that the planet seems to have this 27 to 30 million year kind of heartbeat,
Yeah.
where that's where you see the big um, planet-wide events happen, like the breakup of Pangea, for example,
Hmm.
or what, honey? What?
Just cluck at him.
Um, okay, sweetheart.
Oh, you go
Um,
watch a movie.
yeah, he woke up yesterday with a fever, so he has to be 48 hours symptom free before he can go back.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, but yeah, like the breakup of Pangea or the Siberian Traps eruption for the Permian extinction.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
like they haven't discovered what causes this pulse. Like, could it be maybe our proximity as our solar system travels
Yes.
through the galaxy? Because we've also seen on a smaller scale what happens to, I believe it's Io, um, when it orbits Jupiter. Its gravity on Jupiter, it's so close to Jupiter that the volcanism on Io is constantly active, and the moon is basically molded like plasticine.
Yeah,
Every
yeah. To give people who aren't very well versed on this type of stuff, think of it when you get chills. When you get goosebumps and you get those chills where your body just sort of involuntary, you kind of just shake a little.
Mhm.
Think of it like that. And
Yeah,
that's what a planet does and kind of just has that little sort of minor tremor. But I mean, we're talking about a planet here, so things like a series of earthquakes or volcanic eruptions or differences in the polar fields, the
yeah,
magnetic field, these kinds of things. They're by themselves really aren't that big kind of a deal, but we're kind of still trying to understand why it happens, what exactly it is that is, and you're very right in trying to figure out and reading up on some of this. It's really interesting some of the theories
yeah.
because my
And
one of my theories is that yeah we travel through the galaxy. People think, see, again, we're so just as a species, I'm not, this isn't meant to be malicious, but we're very self-absorbed.
Oh yeah.
So it's for some people it's hard to think that yeah we are on basically a spaceship that's being held together with other spaceships, celestial bodies, our sun, the other planets in our solar system, and it's traveling through the universe, guys. And through the universe, there are magnetic fields, there's dark matter, gravity, things, radiation, things we don't even know of yet
Yep,
that affect us every day. We don't even know about it.
absolutely. It's messed up to the like I can nerd out for hours just watching just documentaries about space science.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Astrophysics is
Yep.
my fucking jam, dude. Like that's what TNG did to me as a
Oh
child.
yeah.
It got me super interested in physics, particle physics, and that led the way to my love of astrophysics and my complete and utter hatred of someone like Neil deGrasse Tyson who knows nothing about astrophysics. Even though he's got his doctorate, it's like, dude, you're this is stuff that I don't have a doctorate in that you should know, but you're blaming it on climate change? Come on. Come on, dude. Oh, channel some inner Carl Sagan or something for God's sake and just open your mind for just a second and
Yeah.
open yourself to the universe and let the universe, it's going to sound cliche and kind of gay, but let it into you. Let your thoughts just run free and have some personal time where just your thoughts are just wandering and interacting with your surrounding in the universe and then, come back to earth, come back to yourself, open your eyes and be like, huh, those were some ideas. Because I'll tell you, that's how Leonardo da Vinci, that's how Carl Sagan, that's how
Gal.
Albert Einstein, Galileo, Oppenheimer, that's how these people come up with the ideas that change our world.
Yep.
They stop and they think. It's so much more powerful than people realize today. You
And
can
it,
just stop and think.
well, and it's not even you like
I
stopping,
wish.
and I'm still trying to learn this in my 30s. Stopping and thinking doesn't even have to bring about these huge
No.
monumental events. Like stopping and thinking can do so many simple things.
Yeah, it just is. That's the beautiful part about just stopping and thinking. Is it just is. You can, knock on wood, come up with some pretty bad ideas. Justin Trudeau, Joe Biden, Adolf Hitler, excuse me. Or it could be something as simple as, you know what, BP, you might stop and think and you go, you know what, this Friday, I think I'm going to cook an amazing dinner because the little one said that he really liked the chicken I made like 3 months ago. Just something simple that's relative to just your unit. But enough people don't stop and think. I think far too many people, left, right, up, down, whatever, are too reactionary to other people. And sometimes you just got to look inward, just think.
Yeah.
I know, Duck Dog, he says I've been eating mushrooms again. Not really, but I mean, I may be anti-theist. I don't like theology. I don't like organized religion, but I do believe in something, not an entity, but I do believe that the universe is bigger than me.
Oh yeah.
I'm shrugging my shoulders going, like I'm not.
I routinely think about the universe song from The Meaning of Life because it's true. Especially the end line, just pray that there's intelligent life somewhere up in space, because there's bugger all
down here.
Oh god.
So whenever life gets you down, Mrs. Brown, and things seem hard or tough, and people are stupid, obnoxious, or daft, and you feel that you've had quite enough, just remember that you're standing on a planet that's evolving and revolving at 900 miles an hour. It's orbiting at 19 miles a second, so it's reckoned. The sun that is the source of all our power, now this... Okay, that's as far as I usually get. I can never remember the rest. I love that song. Yeah, that really encapsulates what I was just talking about.
Yep.
Anything else going on in Canada before we... What else has been going on in this frozen hellhole?
I'm not sure.
Not really much,
it's been a lot of every time I go to look at the news, it's just a lot of like
same
Johnny Depp.
Yeah, a lot of the same. Yeah.
Johnny Depp.
And it's like, I don't really care. Yeah, okay, fine. Elon bought Twitter, so I'm still banned.
Oh my god, all the freaking people screeching about Twitter. It's like, and it's really funny because I've seen a lot of people make this same comparison. They say all the people screaming about how they're going to leave Twitter were the same people screaming about how they were going to move
to Canada if Trump becomes president. Yeah, like I said, they're just political reactionaries. They don't have an original thought in their mind. They look at one another and their quote unquote leaders and go, "How should we react to this?" Okay, we're on board with the CRT. Okay, good. Well, they're calling us groomers. What do we do? Call them groomers back. That'll work. It's like, that's all they do is react.
Have any more roads collapsed in BC? Duck Dog asks. Not lately. There have been, the mudslides have stopped for now.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? At least I'll say no news is good news.
Right?
Like nothing especially, obviously we came out of lockdowns and everything, and people are kind of slowly just sort of edging our way back into normalcy and whatnot. So it's good that there hasn't been any major
Of
events.
course, the people that would have us wear masks for the rest of our lives are going, see, everyone's getting sick right now. See. And it's like, well, yeah, you dumb motherfucker. You wouldn't let us mingle and talk or be social for 2 years, and we didn't get exposed to our normal illnesses. What do you think is going to happen?
Yeah, just like I said, you have to keep fighting for freedom. Your body has to keep fighting off
Yeah.
new infections, new bacterium, or else it's just going to become complacent, and then yeah, you are going to get dysentery and die.
Like
Like a
this flu that's going around is knocking everyone on their asses because we've been masked for 2 years and isolated.
I'm
And everyone, like everybody, I kept saying it because I kept running into this statement through the lockdowns. Oh, I haven't been sick in years and it's amazing. And I'm like, no, it's not. you,
well, I have to correct you that
you have to get a cold every now and then. I'm sorry. I know it's
yes. I mean, but I do have to addendum that in that I'm one of those people that like the last 20 years I haven't really gotten the flu. Now, I know that there are points where my throat gets a little scratchy, maybe I feel a little, but my body's immune system is really good at fighting these off really quick. So I haven't been, bedridden or whatever because of cold or flu-like illnesses for more than 2 decades now, which is great. But I still feel outside of my regular physical ailments, I do still feel them every once in a while. Like I thought I got coof halfway through the pandemic, and it's like, yeah, I kind of feel like maybe this might be coof, but you know what? I feel fine. My body's fighting it off really well. I'm just going to keep really close attention to what's going on, and if it does devolve, then yeah, I'll do the appropriate measures. But as far as I'm concerned, there's no need to rush to the doctor, rush to the hospital, and then possibly being someone who's basically, for all intents and purposes, asymptomatic. And if I am sick, then what? I have the chance of spreading it to someone?
right.
No, that's if you're sick, stay home. End of story.
Well, that's like the kids got like we've basically had this go through the house since March. And it's it was a bit of a cold and then it became a flu, but we've just
Well, that's the thing too, dude. They're kids. They don't have the years of experience our immune systems do.
exactly.
And they're also exposed to a lot more. Kids are very good at socializing, not only with their own social groups, but out in society, in the community. They have more person to person interactions than we do as adults.
Yeah.
Even someone like me lives in a big city, takes transit, whatever. Kids have many more what you call contact points.
Oh yeah.
Than an adult. So I mean, they are a very susceptible, but it's good to hear that nothing bad came out of it. Because remember, it's only been like 80 years since the flu was a coin flip on whether or not your kid would survive.
Right.
Let's not forget, people, these medical inventions we've had under the last century have just been
Straight
all kinds of.
If we've heard anything about the plastic particles that they've been finding in people's lungs. No, I haven't heard about that.
Are you talking about the being very careful, this is not my channel. Or are you talking about Koof SSM M? Because if that's what you're talking about, then yes, I have. I've read plenty of information about the pros and cons, and of course, we both watch HB all the time. He brings up articles, and I haven't really found any concrete stuff, but I am kind of worried at some of the pros and cons that I have seen in the medical world with that issue.
Yeah.
One thing
I do often wonder if, because of all the mass production of the paper masks and like, or your mass produced cloth masks, like I do often wonder if there is particulates.
Yeah, especially considering where most of them come from in the world. Yeah. And one thing I wanted to say before we sign off here today. One thing I'm hoping for from Polyev, all stars align, people actually he wins leader of the Conservative Party and gets into office as the prime minister, if I hope that he pushes for a new Bill of Rights enshrining freedom of speech.
Yeah.
Because again, in the digital world, our laws are archaic comparatively.
Yeah. Because our thing says freedom of expression, which
could be anything.
Speech, but freedom of expression is a lot more vague.
It's also a positive right, not an ingrained human right of, yeah, I can sit in the middle of my apartment and scream and say whatever the hell I want. I could go to the park, do the same. But
somebody else has the right to tell me to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, and I couldn't stop them either. They couldn't stop me, but...
Yeah.
Oh, the masks, right. Okay. I know, Elwyn, but I'm just saying flu-like illnesses, again, just mortality rates of humans in general has been pathetic compared to what we expect these days because of the inventions.
Be a killer.
Yeah.
For example, croup used to be
croup, whooping cough, measles,
yeah,
chickenpox. These things used to be, for some, a death sentence. For most, a coin flip on whether or not the person was going to survive. And today's age, it's actually now a statistical anomaly when somebody, like a SIDS type death, a sudden infant death, it's very rare, and people, that's enough to go, huh? Really? That happened?
When I tell most people that I lost my sight because of the measles,
they're
like, what?
That can happen? Yeah,
and then I'm like,
motherfucker.
And then I was like, I was a baby and too young for the vaccine. And they're like, oh. And then, or it's really funny. I either get the what reaction or I get the, oh yeah, my grandmother's uncle is deaf because of the measles. Oh yeah, my... back before the vaccine, oh
yeah. Somebody who's ancient or in the ground right now, yeah.
Oh yeah, no, my grandmother also lost her sight due to the measles in the 30s. Oh yeah, no, oh my,
but this isn't the 30s, motherfucker. This is the 1980s.
This was 1990, dude.
1990, sorry.
Fucking 90.
That shit is not supposed to happen. And this is what drove me nuts when people kept calling me anti-vax. It's like, motherfucker, you have no idea what I've put in my body. I've put in every recommended vaccine, when I was a child, because obviously I didn't have say in the matter. But later on, when I became an adult, I got vaccinated against things like, I got a rabies shot. And what? Tetanus.
Tetanus, yeah.
Because working construction, working with metal, and I don't need to get tetanus. It's a proven workable vaccine.
Yeah.
And with the other stuff, I was kind of like looking at the science going, I don't know. And if like most things in life, if you kind of look at it and go, I don't know, it's probably not a good idea to do something with it just yet.
Yeah.
It usually, that's your brain's way of saying, let's learn a little bit more about this first.
Like, even my mom, who is very much more progressive thinking than I am, and very much more she still questions things, but she's very much more on the side of the government than not.
Trusting of the government, yeah.
Even she said, when, in regards to this new, the croup vaccine, she said we probably should have used different technology than mRNA. And we probably should, because...
Well, even the inventor, who's Canadian, by the way, of the mRNA technology said, I don't know if we should be deploying this right now. And he got suspended off of Twitter. He got videos deleted off of YouTube. People talking to him got videos deleted off of YouTube. Joe Rogan almost got a strike on Twitter for just for just saying that he was talking to this person. Hey, check
Well,
out my
and
new
wasn't
show.
that the doctor that people wanted him banned off of Spotify for interviewing?
Yes, one of them.
Well, yeah, one of them.
And it's amazing. It's amazing when somebody doesn't want somebody to speak. You know they're threatened by something.
Yep.
That's why freedom of speech is one of the most important God-given, even though, again, I'm an atheist, whatever, but God-given, creator-given, inherent natural rights that we have as human beings for the perpetuation, the peaceful coexistence of our species.
Yeah.
Speech. Because good speech will flourish and spread like wildfire. Bad speech will get shot the fuck down by better speech.
Yep.
And you know what? Again, that's why you need the second to protect the first.
Yep.
And I don't think Polyev will go that far.
No.
But just to bring it back to Canada, but I think he will. He may either do one or both of enshrining free speech as a Canadian right, and or a internet bill of rights, because he's very up to date on technology
Yeah.
and what's going on in the internet sphere.
I think that will give him a big chance in if he passes the leadership of the Conservatives and becomes the leader. His knowledge of the internet and social media is really going to help.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Because he seems a lot more natural on social media than somebody like Jagmeet Singh does. Like when Jagmeet Singh is on TikTok, for example, you get the feeling that he's like, I'll get on TikTok. All the kids are on TikTok.
The kids are on a what talk now? Okay, I'll get on TikTok. And
Polyev
and even in the message, though, BP, you can tell, you feel that it's just propagandizing. It's not natural. It's not fluid. Like, it doesn't matter if Polyev is sitting down with a shawarma shop owner in a YouTube video, standing in front of the House of the House of
Commons. You're right.
House of Commons. Having a little bit of a brain fart. And talking to the opposition, or in a political rally. He has the same just natural swagger in how he speaks, and just that humanity in how he speaks. He's not trying to sell you anything.
No. Jagmeet feels like a used car salesman when he's talking.
Like most politicians. And that's one thing that I will look at Polyev and be like, this is the only thing that's kind of making me a little uncomfortable, is he's a career politician.
Yeah.
He went to university for political science. He got out of university and joined the federal government. I mean, is that inherently a bad thing? No. But it's something that, does raise a little bit of a flag at the back of my mind and go, yeah, maybe he's playing the game. Maybe he's playing it better than anybody else, and he's playing us all.
Yeah.
On the other hand, should I be a pessimist my entire life? No, I'll be a little bit optimistic and be like, you know what? I will take because he's not done anything at all. Like, again, this is part of the problem, and I have with him, and it's not even a real problem, but it's, a little tiny red flag perks up, and like, he's too squeaky clean.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe he is just this genuine, well-spoken, down-to-earth kind of guy who looked at his life's mission and said, you know what? I want to make this country better than I left it.
Yeah.
Maybe he is the Ubermensch of Canada,
Well, on that note, guys, I am going to end here and go check on the 7-year-old. But it was awesome to have Canadian Wednesdays in full again.
Hell yeah.
And I will be back on Twitch tomorrow afternoon, and hopefully my controls will not be inverted. That was a fun challenge for one stream. I don't want to do it again. Playing the Joker backward. I was doing pretty good, though, for fucking having to play the Joker backwards. I think I was doing pretty good.
Oh man, I missed it because obviously I was streaming last night as well. So
Yeah,
with my
yeah,
laptop.
but it was bad because like was right and circle was or square was circle, and it
Yeah,
didn't matter whether my opponent switched sides or not. So
yeah.
I was literally playing the Joker backwards.
Backwards and blind. Beat
Yeah.
that, gamers.
So that's gonna happen tomorrow, at probably at about 1:30 p.m. Eastern, and of course, coffee stream on Friday, and episode 9 review of Picard on Saturday. So,
Okay, I'll catch up with 7 and 8.
all right, I promise it's a lot better.
Okay, okay.
Have a great rest of your day,
Thanks,
guys.
PP.
I'll see you on
Bye,
Twitch
guys.
tomorrow. Bye.
Take off, eh? You hoser.